I'm wondering, Jennifer, if for other family lawyers out there who maybe haven't worked with a divorce coach, can you share with us some of the advantages for a lawyer, to bring a divorce coach onto their file? I mean, I know them firsthand, and you and I have worked together, and I see the many benefits of it. But if there's a lawyer who, thinks perhaps they've taken training, they're trauma informed, they have a skill set in terms of, helping people who are perhaps traumatized or going through challenges, why might they still want to bring a divorce coach onto a file?
Mm-hmm. Many times when someone's going through separation and divorce, they're overwhelmed. And there's almost a panic-like state at many different staples of the process. And when you have a divorce coach there where they could contact and really put things into perspective, it's very helpful to not overwhelm the lawyer and inundate them with different emails and calls. So it helps the lawyer focus on the things that the lawyer wants to continue to focus on, the legalities. And it helps lawyers get materials that they would originally perhaps be getting that are 60 pages long, condensed into a summarized version, which may be helpful not only to save the client costs, but for the lawyer to also get a realistic picture of things that they don't have to read a whole novel in order to get. So divorce coaches that do collaborate with lawyers usually, and I can only speak to myself, so when I work with a lawyer and a client, I'm able to really understand what the client is going through, really get the full story, and then condense it and summarize it in a version where the lawyer can then take a quarter of the time to look through it and understand the situation with clarity, which is always helpful. And also walking through clients through different forms and things that they may not understand, as well as attending meetings with clients and lawyers, where clients sometimes will go into a meeting and not be able to retain information because there's just so much being said, and there's sometimes legal jargons that they don't understand, which can be very common in our world to say, but then a client comes into it not knowing what's going on. And whenever I'm working with a lawyer and then I leave the meeting and speak to the client afterwards, and I say, so do you have any questions? Is there anything from that you'd like me to go over with you again? Do you understand the next steps? How could we make this a little bit more streamlined so you exactly are following what's to come? And lawyers appreciate that because then they're not getting, another follow-up email with something that they've already explained, or there's, it's just more organized. It comes to a point where lawyers are able to focus more on their job and what they're supposed to do, and leaving everything else to the divorce coach to help with.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I find clients are better able to make decisions because often people who've been through a lot of trauma, they can have a really hard time making these important decisions that they need to make in their family law matter. And on the files where I have a divorce coach involved, I just find clients are better able to make those decisions and focus. And even though I'm happy to help them as much as possible, it is an enormous help to have a divorce coach who can streamline things, save the client money. There's lots of work to be done. I'm not afraid that I'm not, by bringing a divorce coach in, my billings are going to suffer because the divorce coach is doing things that maybe I could do and bill for. I look at it more as it's a more efficient use of my time. And the client is going to appreciate that more. Rather than using me as a coach or a psychologist or therapist or something like that, which, I'm not trained as a therapist anyway, and a coach may or may not be, but we all have our role to play to assist the client.
And you bring up a very good point. A lot of clients that will get billed at a higher amount may not be able to continue through litigation, let's say, because they're just financially drained. So even though the lawyer may be able to assist them with certain things, when they're having a divorce coach on file that can assist with things that are not legal related, all of a sudden the client now is not going to be in that position where they can't afford having their lawyer on their team anymore to continue with the process. So that's also a benefit to the lawyer and the client as well.